there's a powerful book that reveals the secrets of controlling and influencing the masses. This isn't just any book. It's a manual for manipulation that teaches you how to master human behavior on a global scale. A favorite among shadowy figures who wield absolute control, this work puts you one step ahead of those who want to take everything from you. If you learn its lessons, you'll be ready to defend yourself against manipulators who prey on emotional weaknesses. In this video, you'll discover the 7 fundamental principles that underpin this art of persuasion. By the end, I will reveal the name of this revolutionary book, transforming your understanding of power and influence.
There is an age-old belief that certain teachings can revolutionize the way entire crowds behave, offering the keys to controlling and influencing collective thought. This belief is not the product of mere conspiracy theories. Anyone who delves into the subject will find clues in historical episodes spanning centuries, showing how populations have been led by skillful leaders or powerful symbols that stirred intense emotions. An inevitable question arises: is it really possible to steer massive groups without them even noticing? This thought elicits both fascination and apprehension. It excites the imagination to think that there might be knowledge so potent it can explain and even predict collective behavior. At the same time, it instills fear because if these techniques fall into the wrong hands, they could be used to oppress, manipulate, or strip away freedoms. There are accounts of shadowy figures who have seized this knowledge to exercise absolute control, reaping benefits for a select few at the expense of many. The key point is that this knowledge is not some esoteric secret reserved only for exclusive circles. It is the result of accumulated observations, studies, and experiences, all compiled in a work written over a century ago, a work described as a manual for manipulation with devastating impact. Those who master its teachings would be one step ahead in the game of power. At the same time, the majority remain oblivious, yielding to impulses and decisions that seem spontaneous, but are, in reality, responses to carefully planned stimuli. The first principle deals with how emotions can overpower logic. When a group experiences fear, anger, or enthusiasm, the emotional response kicks in before any rational analysis. This pattern repeats itself across different eras and cultures, as if the collective mind transforms into an independent entity that favors reactions spreading from person to person in mere seconds. Classic historical examples confirm this power. Entire peoples have rallied behind charismatic leaders who, with fiery speeches, channeled collective emotions against a common enemy or promised a magical fix for complex problems. Often, anyone who dared to present facts that contradicted the dominant narrative was branded an internal enemy, thereby endangering the group's cohesion. This is not about eliminating emotions. They are a fundamental part of the human experience. The danger lies in how some voices exploit this emotional side, turning fear into hatred or hope into blind fervor. It is important to notice when the intensity of emotion overcomes the ability to think critically. Faced with leaders and advertisements that stir up strong feelings, ask yourself, am I being swept along by an emotional tide designed to steer me away from the facts? Although uncomfortable, this questioning paves the way to inner freedom. Being aware of how collective emotion operates helps you avoid automatic contagion. Instead of diving headfirst into the group's energy, you can recognize that behind powerful speeches, there may lie darker intentions. The second principle concerns the relentless use of words, slogans, and narratives to shape the collective mind. Repetition is one of the oldest mass persuasion strategies. Short messages repeated over and over eventually get absorbed with little resistance. The human brain tends to equate constant familiarity with truth, This effect is evident in marketing campaigns that hammer out slogans until people repeat them involuntarily, linking a product with something positive. In politics, the constant repetition of certain catchphrases can transform a partial argument into popular truth. The more an idea is repeated, the more the public recognizes it, and recognition often becomes synonymous with acceptance. This process becomes even more intense in the age of social media, where algorithms continuously serve up more of what you already consume. If you favor a certain viewpoint, you begin to receive endless reinforcements of that opinion in a bubble where dissenting views rarely appear. The result is a crystallization of beliefs that, even without solid evidence, sound unassailable simply because they are everywhere. To guard against this dynamic, it is crucial to diversify your sources of information. Rather than blindly trusting what appears most frequently, ask yourself, does this idea I see everywhere really have a solid basis, or am I just being constantly exposed to it? Even in everyday life, a rumor gains strength with every repetition unless it is confronted with hard facts. The third principle explores the ability of symbols and images to impact the collective unconscious instantly. The human brain processes visual elements immediately, linking them to emotions, memories, and desires. In major historical movements, flags, emblems, and charismatic faces have played central roles in mobilizing the masses. A flag does not need a long explanation. It represents a nation, a cause, or an ideal. Just by looking at it, people feel connected to something greater, ready to act on its behalf. The same is true for logos and advertising images. A striking design or bold color can instantly trigger emotional associations with status, quality, or belonging. Many politicians invest heavily in posters for electoral campaigns, featuring well-crafted portraits, vivid colors, and short, memorable slogans. The goal is to spark feelings of sympathy or trust without requiring the voter to analyze detailed proposals. By constantly repeating these images, a visual identity is built that, by sheer frequency, gains credibility in the eyes of the public. To protect yourself from this mechanism, ask, what feeling is this symbol stirring in me? In many cases, the reaction is not the result of a rational conclusion, but rather a carefully engineered emotional trigger meant to secure quick allegiance. When you understand this process, you begin to scrutinize the flood of images that invade everyday life with a more critical eye. The fourth principle involves the power of prestige, whether it comes from a public figure, an institution, or even an idea. When the crowd bestows an aura of superiority on someone, they often suspend critical thinking and accept whatever that person says as truth. This behavior stems from our deep-seated need to trust those who display an elevated reputation, especially during times of crisis or uncertainty. Leaders with high visibility and an apparent ability to solve problems naturally attract devoted followers. Sometimes this prestige is earned through real accomplishments. Other times, it is the result of a carefully orchestrated image-building process complete with honorary titles, awards, or even irrelevant diplomas that nonetheless impress the majority. The endless repetition of praise in the media reinforces the notion that a particular individual is infallible or exceptional. This phenomenon is not limited to politicians. Major corporations also benefit from prestige, and many people choose products or services simply because the brand is well known. The same applies to religious leaders who, with their charismatic speeches, draw massive crowds even if their teachings lack a solid foundation. When someone presents themselves with an air of unquestionable authority, it is common for the public to refrain from questioning them, since challenging a revered figure can cause social discomfort. It is essential to distinguish between those who truly deserve recognition and those who simply exploit an appearance of prestige to manipulate. This requires examining whether a person's words align with their actions and determining if their accolades were legitimately earned or are merely the product of overblown publicity. The fifth principle reveals a fundamental aspect of human nature: the tendency to seek comfort in explanations that simplify reality. In a world brimming with complexity, especially during times of crisis and uncertainty, the human mind craves narratives that offer immediate answers and seemingly easy solutions. This need for psychological security leads many to embrace simplified explanations, choosing comforting illusions over the daunting complexity of real facts. When life is full of uncertainty, be it during economic instability, political crises, or natural disasters, people tend to cling to ideas that promise stability and order, even if those ideas turn out to be overly simplistic or distorted. The sense of belonging to a group that upholds an unquestionable truth creates a safe space where doubts are silenced in favor of emotional unity, even if that unity becomes unsustainable in the face of real challenges. This adherence to comforting narratives is evident in historical instances where authoritarian regimes maintained power by promising prosperity or salvation while ignoring clear signs of abuse and contradiction. By adopting a comforting narrative, the collective forfeits the need to dig deeper into the truth, opting instead for an official truth that, despite its flaws, offers the illusion of control. This phenomenon can be seen both in political movements and in everyday social contexts, where the acceptance of ready-made, oversimplified formulas replace critical debate. The cost of clinging to illusions, however, is steep. People end up isolating themselves from perspectives that might offer more robust solutions, but require intellectual and emotional effort to understand. It is important to recognize that this tendency is not born of deliberate ignorance, but rather is a natural defense mechanism against the discomfort that truth often brings. Embracing complexity can cause anxiety and uncertainty, so retreating into simplified narratives acts as a temporary balm for the soul. However, this escape carries long-term consequences, as holding on to illusions can delay necessary change and perpetuate systems that exploit human vulnerability. To break free from this cycle, it is crucial to cultivate the habit of critical reflection. Question the veracity of comforting narratives and examine whether the solutions offered truly match reality. Ask yourself, does the answer they offer really solve the problem, or does it merely soothe my fears? Such questioning creates space where doubt becomes a tool for liberation rather than a threat to your sense of security. By acknowledging our natural tendency to prefer comforting illusions, you can gradually work toward a deeper and more balanced understanding of reality, turning apparent weakness into a stepping stone for self-knowledge and liberation from collective bonds. The sixth principle addresses the construction of credibility, ethos, which plays a crucial role in the ability to persuade and influence the masses. Credibility is built on external references that are often presented as guarantees of competence and truth. This strategy involves showcasing diplomas, awards, partnerships with renowned institutions, and endorsements from experts. Together, these elements form a protective shield against criticism and scrutiny. By displaying credentials and associating with respected names, a speaker or leader creates an image of authority that, for many, obviates the need for further inquiry or critical analysis. This technique is widely employed across various fields. In the corporate world, brands invest in campaigns that highlight their long-standing tradition and recognition, leading consumers to equate reputation with quality. In politics, speeches that reference scientific studies, statistical data, or collaborations with prestigious universities carry a weight that is rarely questioned. Challenging such arguments often means questioning respected institutions. This transfer of trust is a powerful psychological phenomenon where the public prefers to accept what is validated by recognized authorities rather than delve into the complexities of the arguments. However, the construction of ethos can be manipulated. The titles and awards displayed do not always reflect genuine competence or effective results. Credibility is often manufactured through a careful selection of information and references that mask a lack of substance behind the discourse. This tactic is extremely dangerous, for when you blindly trust apparent authority, you become vulnerable to manipulation. In an environment where information is constantly filtered and directed, the challenge lies in discerning what is truly reliable from what is merely a facade of competence. To meet this challenge, it is essential to adopt a critical stance that goes beyond superficial presentation. Seek to verify information by consulting a variety of sources and, most importantly, question what is accepted as truth solely based on associated prestige. This practice does not mean devaluing institutions. Rather, it means recognizing that true credibility must be built on solid arguments and consistent evidence, not just the appearance of authority. Furthermore, genuine credibility results from a long process of learning, practice, and verification. The public needs to educate itself by cultivating the habit of investigating and comparing the information received. This proactive approach, combined with the ability to discern between legitimate and manufactured discourse, strengthens resilience against manipulation. Ultimately, the construction of ethos should not serve as a shortcut to unthinking acceptance, but rather as an invitation to seek the truth behind titles and honors, transforming trust into a tool for empowerment instead of submission. The seventh principle focuses on the ability to mobilize large groups through dramatization and pathos, that is, through the intensified exploitation of collective emotion. Speeches that employ emotionally charged narratives can create an almost hypnotic atmosphere in which reason gives way to fervor and urgency. By evoking feelings of indignation, hope, or fear, the speaker captures the audience's attention almost instantly, directing the group's energy toward a common goal without inviting deep reflection on the details or consequences of the proposal. This technique has deep historical roots and can be observed in pivotal moments of social mobilization. From fiery speeches that ignited revolutions to advertising campaigns promoting products with near-miraculous promises, the use of pathos has proven to be an effective tool for uniting and directing crowds. When emotion takes over, the audience tends to identify with the narrative on a visceral level, turning the speech into an almost sacred call to action. This emotional identification creates an environment in which the sheer intensity of the shared sentiment overshadows critical debate. However, this powerful technique also carries significant risks. Exaggerated dramatization can lead to impulsive reactions where the pursuit of an immediate solution overwhelms factual analysis. In tense situations, collective emotion can become a tool for manipulation, causing people to accept measures without question that, when viewed more rationally, would be clearly harmful. Opportunistic leaders exploit this mechanism to sway public opinion, often omitting details or distorting reality to maximize emotional impact. The result can be extreme polarization, where the force of unwavering convictions replaces the capacity for dialogue and negotiation. To protect yourself from this kind of manipulation, you must develop the ability to recognize when emotion is being used to mask a lack of solid arguments. This requires constant vigilance and a conscious effort to balance emotion with reason. The question is whether the collective outcry stems from a genuine reaction or a deliberately orchestrated drama. Additionally, taking time for personal reflection, whether through meditation, critical reading, or discussions with people who hold different perspectives, helps keep your reason alive even amid emotional storms. It is also important to understand that dramatization is not inherently negative. Often, it serves to give voice to legitimate issues and mobilize important social change. The problem arises when dramatization becomes an end in itself, detached from careful analysis and transparency. The challenge is to learn when collective emotion is being used constructively and when it turns into a tool of manipulation that hinders conscious decision-making. Integrating emotion with reason is the key to ensuring that you do not fall victim to persuasive tactics. The ability to feel deeply must be accompanied by the capacity to question and discern. By recognizing the pitfalls of exaggerated dramatization, you can develop a more resilient outlook, one that allows you to experience emotions without being overwhelmed by them. This is the true essence of conscious pathos, using emotion to inspire while always maintaining the clarity and balance needed for truly free decision-making. Understanding these pillars is essential for recognizing when you are about to fall into the traps of mass manipulation. Many who master this knowledge use it to wield dishonest influence, yet it can also be applied to promote positive causes when honesty and transparency of intent are present. This collection of ideas, condensed into a manual, was first laid out in a work dating back to 1895. Over the years, charismatic leaders, propaganda strategists, and even social science scholars have used its conclusions to shape collective behavior. Today, this work is known by some as the most dangerous book in the world, precisely because it reveals how to control crowds without their even realizing it. Now, it is time to finally reveal the title that has had such a profound impact and sparked widespread discussion about the popular mind. Gustave Le Bon's The Crowd, A Study of the Popular Mind. In this book, you will find the psychic foundations of mass behavior, as well as the mechanisms that drive emotional contagion, instant credibility, and fear. It has captivated shadowy minds while also enabling readers to understand and defend themselves against covert manipulations. Although this book is considered dangerous, its content is not evil by nature. Instead, it exposes the factors that can be used to control large groups. Understanding these mechanisms is crucial for anyone seeking protection or wishing to expand their consciousness. Information makes people less susceptible to inflammatory rhetoric that exploits collective weaknesses. There is also a connection to the spiritual realm. When you investigate the mind deeply, you realize that emotions, beliefs, and collective impulses can be observed without being swept away by them. Meditation, for example, offers a practice of self-observation that reveals how thoughts and feelings arise and fade away. This state of presence helps you question the veracity of repeated messages or the power of certain symbols. However, knowledge alone is not enough. You must be willing to step out of your comfort zone because resisting the group's emotional pull can be uncomfortable or even dangerous when radical ideologies consume a mob. Still, the more people develop clarity, the less power any opportunistic leader who uses these 7 principles for manipulation will have. Collective consciousness does not have to be enslaved by hidden techniques. By understanding the power of emotions, the influence of repetition, the strength of symbols, and the pursuit of prestige, each individual becomes capable of questioning and choosing for themselves. This awakening makes all the difference because even if the masses are seduced, there will always be those who remain alert and can guide others toward a more critical and free perspective. For those who wish to deepen this process and access subtler levels of perception, there are practices and studies focused on expanding consciousness available in dedicated spaces. Many find that meditation tools and daily reflection help strengthen the mind against relentless propaganda, making it easier to discern when a message is authentic or merely a well-structured manipulation. Every change begins with understanding your role as a co-creator, and the only way to connect with that divine intelligence is through meditation. We have developed a set of audio tools to help you access this elevated state of consciousness. To learn more and gain immediate access, click the link on the screen or in the comments. If this video resonated with you, leave a comment saying, "It made sense to me."